Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Daniels, co-founder of Digital Badge Academy, here along with fellow co-founder David Leeser, who is going to kick off this week's webcast for us. David.
So we're have a great one today, and it is about the 8 ways that digital badges can improve your online communities. We've been looking at this for a number of years, and we've come up with 8 things that will, I think, really interest you. Four for the benefits for the members of a community, and four for the benefits for the organization. So I'm just going to kick it off real fast and start with motivation. It's the number one thing that badges will do for somebody is it will increase motivation for people to participate in your program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I've worked with a number of different programs involving credentialing in communities, and far and away, that's the primary reason why folks want to actually introduce badging and credentialing into a community environment. It's to motivate in a couple of ways. One, to get new people to come in and join the community and contribute. And then, of course, the people that are already there and part of the community to get them to motivated and some sort of incentive to be able to contribute even further. So it's far and away the number one thing that I've seen that really leads to credentialing in a community environment.
It creates I think, Jim, it creates kind of a gamification element that most people don't realize how badges can be used for gamification. This is one example of how badges can be used to gamify. And in fact, when we were with the IBM program, we actually won an award for introducing badges to an online university called Cognitive Class. And it was because of the gamification element that it started to motivate people to say, hey, you know what? I want to take more and I want to do more and more and more. So motivation, number one. Number two is the idea of personalized learning. And I think pathways is another thing that happens here too.
Many of the communities that are out there do have learning assets and artifacts that are part of that community, part of the benefit of actually, joining that community and being a contributor. And some of that is crowdsourced community. Some of it may come within the organization, but ultimately it's a great way to take all of that content, all of that input, organize it into some structured learning activities, and then wrap credentialing around it. So just another great motivator, if you will, which kind of, and it's interesting because the motivation piece kind of it also serves as sort of a common thread through all of this. But being able to go in and pick and choose, right? So there are structured pathways, but there are also you have mechanisms in place that can allow you to pick and choose what it is that you're specifically interested in learning about.
And then as the, community organizer, you can also drive people towards certain behaviors by saying, hey, you know what? Now it's time to take your next badge, and here's another one you might want to do. So you can start to really influence behavior with this as well.
You can, and it's important too to point out that in this personalized learning and pathways idea around communities, discrete level credentialing is really important. That's really kind of what it boils down to, and by that I mean it's the opportunity to look at things in smaller achievements, right? More discrete level topics and things of that nature that someone is specifically interested in. So it may be an individual that just wants to add a specific piece of knowledge or skill to an already well developed skill set, right? And so the ability to do that and have a way of having that recognized can make the community that much stronger.
Yep, yep. So it really does motivate people to continue learning all the way through. So number three is enhancing the credibility and validations because really what it does, Jim, I think, is it really allows a member to verify their skills, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll give you a great example of where the enhancement of one's credibility and validation comes into play. And it's with IBM's Champion program. IBM has a program, a community program. IBM employees are not eligible for this. This is only available to individuals who are business partners or individuals, working freelance, whatever it may be, or even end user customers. You have to be someone in the industry that works with IBM technology. It's the pinnacle of credentials that someone that works with IBM technology can earn. It carries more clout even than certification, just because of what it represents. It's a whole incredibly rigorous nomination process that individuals are subject to, and it really, if you have IBM champion status, you're part of the who's who of professionals out there that are expert in the IBM technology portfolio in one part or another. So it's a great way to look at enhancing credibility and validation within a community environment.
And it opens doors, right? I mean, it'll open doors for
Absolutely.
people as well. So that's the other big part of it is by giving people this digital badge. The next one I think is the idea of networking and collaboration. It improves networking and collaboration in a community.
I think that that's core to what communities are about, right? Is creating conduits for communication to get people who might otherwise never talk with one another, never communicate with one another, a way to collaborate and communicate and to share information with one another. That's the biggest strength of having a community environment. And obviously, if you have individuals that are contributing in a fairly significant manner, it's worth recognizing them for that. So this kind of gets back to that gamification piece that you mentioned earlier. Community platforms and environments typically have a way to track how many posts that you've made, how many posts that you've responded to, how many questions that you've come in and answered for others, and those kinds of metrics can actually feed directly into uh, qualification criteria for earning a badge based on your level of contribution, which really boils down to just how effective you are at networking and collaborating with others in the community.
Yeah, I mean, and think about that. I mean, I know I'm this way too. If I see somebody who's answered a question and they have a gold star next to their name, I'm going to trust their answer more, right? So it allows people
Absolutely.
to quickly get to what they think is probably the best solution to their problem.
Yeah, I mean, it can almost become somewhat of a competition, right? Because people want to be recognized as experts. They want to be, they want to rise to the level of mastery, in their field of expertise. And it's just a great way to motivate them to, strive for that. And then, of course, recognize them once they've achieved it.
Yeah. So from an organizational perspective, I think there are four that are there, and some of them are pretty obvious. But from an organization perspective or from a community perspective, number one, I think, is boosting the brand perception and the reputation for the brand, right?
Brand building and brand recognition are everything. And you and I know this, the power that digital credentialing and badging can have as far as brand recognition and just brand visibility, right? Just not only from the visual aspect, but also from what the badges and credentials actually represent. So yeah, brand perception and reputation, hugely important. And I think that that gets glossed over and overlooked a lot of times in terms of what you can actually achieve. First and foremost, just by having a credentialing program using badges, because of the sharing that takes place and getting that out into social media, but doing that as well within a community environment just takes that to kind of to the next level and raises it up a notch.
Yeah, and think about the social media impressions you get from this. So when people start earning their badges, they're going to start putting them out on social media. You're going to have all these badges flowing into LinkedIn, into Facebook and X and other places. And that's going to attract more people back to your community. And it
Oh,
certainly is going to build
absolutely.
your brand, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that is, and that's been proven to be very effective, right? A lot of times, gaining membership in a community is all about awareness. It may be that there are people that would love to be part of the community, and they're just simply not aware that it exists. Right? I've seen that. I've seen that firsthand on multiple occasions. So it's another way to widen the aperture and bring more visibility into what you're doing, what you're trying to achieve from a community standpoint, and get other people motivated and aware.
I think the next one is really, and it's kind of similar to the benefit to the community member, but increasing the engagement and retention, being able to keep people always engaged. So you're really creating really a relationship with somebody rather than a transaction.
And that really is one of the cornerstones of why you would have a community in the first place, right? It's really about building a relationship with all of those individuals that are coming in and joining and contributing, and being able to capture all of that expertise and get the sharing, the knowledge sharing that takes place, and opening up those channels for communication, and that, like we've talked about already. But it's it's a great way to encourage active participation. And what I mean by that is by introducing badging, right? Having a way to recognize individuals for their active participation. And by active participation, I'm talking about, people that are coming in. It could be, if it's someone new to the community, they're less skilled, their active participation may be, mostly asking questions, trying to gain knowledge. Someone that's more experienced, that is a expert, they've reached mastery level, most of their active participation may be responding to those that are raising those questions. Both are very, very healthy, because the individual that's asking questions, helps others feel like it's okay to be able to ask a question, right? A lot of, it's like being in a room with a lot of people and everybody being afraid to ask a question because they think, oh, it's not going to be a, very, it's going to be a dumb question or something like that. When you see others actively participating and asking questions, it motivates and encourages others. And then, of course, again, taking that sort of to the next step and recognizing those that are actively engaging, is a great way to keep them engaging, to continue to, for them to continue to ask questions or answer questions. And it actually serves as a way to retain and even grow the community.
And you think about what's the big so what on that? When you think about it, well, guess what? It means that you now are going to have people that are going to want to continue to buy your products and services, right? Because now you've retained, if you retained them there, you're going to retain them as a client or as a customer or as a student or whatever you're doing. So they're going to stay with you. But the second thing it's going to do, it's going to reduce your support costs and calls
Right.
as well. Because the more that they're engaged up in the community, they're not going to be making phone calls. They're going to be engaged in the community rather than, picking up the phone every time they have a problem.
Many times it can be a more effective way, to, if you're someone that's looking for an answer to something or trying to solve a problem or whatever it may be, a lot of times, referencing a community environment will get you that answer or get you that solution much quicker. And a lot of times the answers will be far more complete as well, just because of all of uh, there may be someone else that's come in, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that has already asked that question, run into that situation. So, your answer's tailor made even to what, to what you're interested in learning about.
So the next one is improving data-driven decisions.
Well, we know that badging data can be really rich and inform an organization very effectively about a lot of different things. So I think earning patterns, is something that can really provide valuable data about member behavior, about their preferences and skill development. You can look, for instance, at the badging data, and you can get, this is a real basic kind of an example, but you can get a sense of maybe you have three tiers of contributors as part of your community that you're recognizing. You can very, very easily, from the badging data, go in and see who's in tier one, who's in tier two, and who's in tier three. So it gives you insights to be able to come in and say, all right, maybe we need to do something a little different, to try and grow people into the second and third tier and get more people contributing and engaging, at a higher caliber within the community.
Yeah, and you can take that data and merge it with other data, and then you can really make really intelligent decisions like who's doing what, when are they doing it, where are they doing
Where
it,
are they? Yeah.
yeah, where are they, where are they in the journey, and then you could also then correlate that to back to the support thing. Hey, those people that earn these particular badges have fewer support calls, or they do more of X or less of Y. And then you can go back to your community and say, how can we encourage more of that?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And maybe your community and the credentialing that you wrap around it, maybe you want to make it specific to a particular product or product line, right? I mean, that's exactly what the scenario that IBM had, with this really large technology portfolio of products and solutions. Having one big, huge community wouldn't make sense. So, for instance, there is the IBM AIX community, and very specific type of an example because the AIX part of IBM's technology portfolio has its own community. It's very easy to have that separated out from the larger portfolio and kind of understand, specific areas that people may be having, um, issues with. You might see trends within your community, in terms of the number of questions being asked around a specific challenge, or maybe it's an administrative function or something like that. So the point is, by the fact that you're badging something very specifically allows you to break out your community into subsets. So if you maybe you're a multi-product organization and you do have just one community, right? It's an opportunity when you create these, if you're going to wrap credentialing around it and recognize people for levels of contribution, you may want to do that on a product by product basis, depending on how the product structure within your organization is laid out, right? So that's the point of where the badging data, and the fact that the badging data is all normalized, will help you do that. So it's another great way to inform the business and help the business make business decisions.
And then the last point is really content, and it is encourages crowdsourcing of content and crowdsourcing of contributions.
Crowdsourcing is the big piece, right? It's a lot of organizations, and again, this it doesn't matter if it's technology, it could be any industry you can think of, right? um, a lot of people think about building knowledge bases in that within their organizations based off what their employees know and can do, what they've mastered, but that's just one way. If you have an external audience, whether it's a user base, a business partner, organization, whatever it may be, the having a community and having a way to motivate people to come in and be part of that community via badging is a great way to crowdsource additional content and grow contribution into that community. In fact, some of the best content is likely to come from your end user community. For instance, that's I would probably put that even above and beyond even what employees might contribute to a community, because you're getting literally firsthand experiential based uh, information and data and knowledge that is coming into this community. That's why it's so important to have a way to recognize those individuals who do take the time to come into the community and be part of that environment and contribute.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a really good point because the manufacturer or the college or whoever it is can only understand a certain point of view, and they can't understand it from a very specific one. And I'll give you an example from Lowe's. Lowe's started a community structure and they decided to create an incentive program like badges. It wasn't badges, but it's the same kind of concept. But they wanted to reward people who were the top contributors. And what they found was people started contributing things that they didn't really expect. And some of them produced millions of dollars of savings for Lowe's. Well, let me give you an example of one of them. One of them was that at one of the, well, throughout the United States, they were getting an enormous number of returns for a certain type of washing machine. And they couldn't figure out what the problem was with it. Well, somebody in one of the branches figured out that when the customer was taking it home, they were using knives to cut the cardboard boxes to get them out. And they were cutting through a pipe or a tube or something like that, but they were damaging the washing machine. And so then the washing machine failed. And so then they would return it. Well, somebody figured it out. And they created a brand new instructions, a training course on what to do when they arrived at the Lowe's location. What they did was they, modified the packing materials So when it got home to the customer wasn't going to be cutting this. I don't know what they put in there. Probably put some sort of guard or something like that to protect that, that part of the unit. Unbelievable. The
Yeah.
returns dropped instantly.
Well, I mean, it just speaks, and it speaks to the power of having, a well-developed community, well planned out community environment, for everyone to come into and learn from, to contribute to, that sort of thing. I mean, it's the other thing too is, it's not just about, although it's super important to have a way to recognize people and give them a way to sort of grow their own personal brand for their taking the time to come into the community and be part of that community and enrich that community. But it also speaks to human skills that people have, right? And that's another aspect of credentialing a community environment that I think seldom uh, gets considered is, what does it say about the behaviors and the soft skills, the social skills and human skills of individuals, based on their level of contribution. So there's some really interesting ways. This is a whole other kind of topic, probably beyond the scope of this webcast, but there's a lot of interesting human skills and behaviors that come into play as well, based on your level of participation and contribution in a community environment, that can also be recognized through credentialing. And that's something that can really start to have some pretty serious impact on an individual's ability to grow their career, in order to continue to grow their career, is to start to, shine a light a little bit on some of those aspects. And we hear it every day, the important kind of skills that employers are looking for. It's not just core skills, right? It's not just the hard skills that sit at the top of the pyramid. There's all kind of soft skills, business skills, and human skills in that have become really, really important for employers. And credentialing in a community environment can actually help reflect those really effectively.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I mean, too much. There's too much emphasis on performance reviews, and
Right.
not enough understanding, a deep understanding of how people are really working, at their jobs. And these types of badges in a community can really help.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm a hiring manager and I see someone that has earned a badge based on some really significant contribution within a community, and I look at that metadata and I see that, oh, this person has reached role model status, um, based on their contributions within that community environment, that says a lot. That's going to get my attention, right? Someone that is willing to take that much time and put that much effort into their participation in a community environment to reach role model status. That it makes a person potentially a very attractive hire.
So there they are. That's 8 good reasons to add digital badges to communities. So hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of them.
Are you looking to launch a digital badging program or improve an existing one? Look no further than Digital Badge Academy. Our highly popular online masterclass will help you gain the skills and insights necessary to achieve success. Enroll now and start learning today.